To this new series, which is basically called Arnold. Who's Arnold?
Arnold? Who's Arnold?
Thanks, Father Jack. Right, so anyway, beside the Father Ted joke, Arnold is 3D Studio Max's renderer. And initially I didn't like it. I was like, oh no, they've taken away our old renderer. They've taken away, you know, Mental Ray. And that was a great name, you know. I mean, these guys call things great names. Mental Ray always put me in the mind of a drunk uncle standing on sitting on a fence throwing bottles at cars. And now Arnold just puts me in mind of the Irish TV series, Father Ted. Fantastic. Anyway, I want to show you how to use Arnold for 3ds Max. Mainly because nobody else does. Or will. Okay, because training for 3ds Max, since I took a step back about 4 years ago, stopped existing. So, Autodesk, if you're watching this, maybe you should consider just giving me some money and get me to, like, you know, make official training for your product, because frankly the training that's available is shit. Anyway, much thanks to the guys who actually make Arnold for taking time to help me out with any questions I've had. I'm going to be showing you how to do basic stuff, what looks cool and is great. That's basically the description. Now, first of all, I'm going to go and find myself a somewhat interesting model that we can use as a reference. Now, what I've done is I've loaded up a HDI map into this. Okay, just as our background. It's got to not respond for a bit because it takes forever because it's a very big HDI map. But I like it because it gives me pretty colours. Okay, so there it is. It's Blowberg Sunrise, which is free, and it's a 16K HDRI, which is just absolutely flipping insane. Now, I've got my basic material editor here, okay, and I've got a few materials that I'm just going to drag on. So this is an empty material here, just dragging it on. I've got no cameras in my scene, no lights in my scene, and in the Arnold renderer box down here, where it says environment, okay, my background is just going to be a custom colour, and I'm just going to make it kind of a lightish grey, I suppose. There we go, about that. No atmosphere, etc, 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 and under system, bucket scanning to, not left, random. There we go. Okay, I'm using production rendering mode, and if I just bring this in a little bit so we can kind of see it, I'm going to change its output size to HD TV. And just use a low-res one for the minute, so maybe 1280 by 720. And I'm going to hit render, and I'm going to pause at the same time, or it will kill my recording tools. Okay, so that's the render done. I'm not using active shade, so I don't need to worry about this changing or anything mad going on. I just wanted to show you this is a uniform, basic, simple grey material. Nothing exciting going on. Right, now, what I'm going to do is I am going to use a couple of simple, basic, very basic tools, okay, just to texture this. And the first one, well, the predominant one I'm going to use is Triplanars. If you don't know how to use Triplanars, it's hardly surprising because, you know, there's not very many good manuals for it. Training's always left at the bottom of the list, and then they wonder why no one uses their goddamn software. So, what I'm going to do is I am going to make a darker material here, okay. I'm just going to make it really dark. And that's obviously going to be kind of rubber or something, right? And I'm going to use that on anything that looks like a pipe. So, select this. And going to select by element. By the way, if you're coming at this as a basic user, okay, I'm not showing you how to use the interface. Sorry, you're just going to have to go and use one of my more basic tutorials until you know how to do this. So anyway, here's all the hoses selected, okay, except for that one and that one, so nearly all. There we are, and I'll deselect that bit at the back because that's not rubber, and neither is that. Okay, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to apply these to it. Ka-ching. Okay, and I'm going to rename this material as rubbery. There we go, because it's rubbery. That's all that needed to be done there. Okay, so now if I go over here and we have a worn metal that I'd like to apply, so really worn metal. Okay, and I don't want to apply too many materials to this. Oh, and as we can see I've applied rubber to the wrong ones here, so that's pretty cool. Well done me. So deselect these two and then do a Control I and then I'll replace it all with this one, which is our basic material. Ta-da! There we go. Right, so that'll fix that. And we need a second really warm metal. It might not be really warm, but I just want it as a contrast, you know. And I'm going to stick it on here, 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 here. That middle bit, because why the heck not? This barrel, just anything big, you know. Let's see, this. Yeah, why not? And this. Okay, so we're just going for like large shapes, large standout shapes, really. Okay, it's not about kind of how ergonomically beautiful this is going to be, it's just to kind of show you. Okay, and just apply. And in here, where this is going to be an old material, let's say I'll make it green. Okay, nice and easy, right? All done. Okay, so that's basically all the different materials on our thing kind of set up. Okay, we've got 3 on here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my non-compact material editor now, so slate material editor, and if this scares you, that's cool. It used to scare me too. It's like a big window full of basically, you know, space that you put nodes down on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this, which is my picker, and I'm going to pick this material, and it'll give me this multi-sub. Cool, eh? Now the good thing about this is that we have these 3 materials that we can use, right? Standard, standard, standard. And what I'm going to do is I am going to create firstly a material to replace this standard material with. Alright? So for that I am going to get, let me see, this standard surface here. As you can see, it's much bigger and has a lot more options than this surface here, but there you go. And I'm going to plug it straight into there. Okay, into option 1. Now I can get rid of this. Okay, and you can see that everything just changed colour there, so that's cool. Now, what I need to do is I need some materials to go into my base colour, because that's where everything starts from, right? So what are we going to put in our base colour? We're going to put a layer. And this is where things start getting complicated. Okay, so this is our layer RGBA, and I'm just going to drag it out, okay? And we've got basically 8 inputs and 8 mixes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to link this to our base colour, okay? And then I'm just going to set up some simple stuff so that you can kind of see how this works. So first of all, I'm going to create a colour map. So colour, just maps OSL, okay, drag it out, then I'll make a copy of it there and there, okay? And in this one, I'm going to make it maybe white. And in this one, I'm going to make it maybe black. Okay? Like so. Now, these 2 are going in. How am I going to define how they're mixed? Well, I want this to look like a worn material. I want the edges to be all kind of, you know, a bit damaged and crappy and stuff like that. So I'm going to use a mix map here, and in my mix, I'm going to apply it to a curvature map. Okay, so if I get a curvature map and drag that out like so, alright, and my curvature map I will put straight into my mix slot, like that. Then I shall put this, which is white for some obscure reason, should be black, I don't know why I made it white, there we go. This one will go into input 2. This should be in mix slot 1, not mix slot 2. There we go. Okay, like so. So now I've got these 3, and curvature is deciding how they're mixed. However, what I want to do is I want to do it by radius. So anywhere where there's one of these, like corners, edges, all that kind of good stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a noise map. And I'm going to get my noise map OSL just here, drag it down, and I'm going to link the output of this to my radius. Then, inside my curvature map, I'm going to change the output to both convex and concave. I'll keep the multiply set at 1 for the minute, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to find an area where I can hopefully see what's happening between the white and the black. So let's say probably just around about there-ish. Okay, so I've zoomed in a bit. I'm going to pause and I'm going to hit render. Okay, so what you can see here now is that the edge highlighting is kind of working, yeah? Basically what we're doing is we're using our mix maps. The dark one is our main paint, the light one is the chipping away at the edges. And you can see where obviously it's kind of worn down, we've got some edge highlights and under materials showing through, which is pretty useful and very, very cool. Okay, I'm going to go over here now, okay, and where my map OSL 28 is, I need to replace that. And what I need to do is I need to replace that with a material that we can use. So I'm going to go up here where it says Triplanar, okay, which is another Arnold map, and just drag it out. Now what this is going to do is this is going to project a material from the top, the bottom and the sides, and it's going to blend it all together and make it look cool. And I'm going to swap it out with input 2. There it goes, and I'll just get rid of input 1 completely. Now the good thing about Triplanar is that we don't need to worry about silly things like UV mapping and stuff, because it'll just do its stuff. Now for something this big we need a big material. I'm only going to be using a 2K one, but it should still work okay. So if I just click in Triplanar here, okay, you'll see there's an input. So for my input I want an image, and I'm using the Arnold Maps image just here, and I want to get a file name. And let's see, in here I'm going to go to my materials library, because I've got a good set of materials that I've built using Quixel Mixer. Pardon me. And here's my basic metal coat one. Okay, and this really is basic, as you can see. So there's my diffuse. I'm just going to open that, and I'm just going to drag it to my input slot, just there. Okay. Now if I look in Triplanar, there's a few other things I can do, like the scale. Okay, obviously that's kind of useful if your material's not particularly big, but remember you are going to get tiling artifacts on this, so make sure it's one that tiles that doesn't look too crap. And for coordinate space, I'm going to use object. That way if my object moves, the material moves with it. Otherwise it'll look a bit like that cartoon that used to be on Nickelodeon. I can't remember the name of. Chowder or whatever it was. Weird looking thing that. Anyway, cell blend's about 0.1, that way it'll blend at the edges, okay, and I'm not bothering with much else, so that is cool. Okay, so let's do another quick render. Okay, so as you can see now, the material's been projected over it, okay, and this is a decent-ish metal texture. So we haven't got any specular set up, we haven't got any other cool stuff set up yet. It's just basically a simple diffuse map, but obviously the HDI map's doing lots of cool things to it to make it look better. Alright, so we know that works. Now what about this here, where we've just got OSL colour white? Well, we can just keep it white, or we could put in another material if you so wanted to. And to put in another material, all we'd have to do is just grab these, shift and drag it up here, showing, okay. Where it says image here, I'll just go in, and I'm going to find maybe a nice stripped metal. There we go. Now I'm not going to use this stripped diffuse here because I think it's too light. I'm going to use this stripped gloss because I think that's a lot better. Okay, and let's have a quick check at that. Sorry, autosave I think is doing its business as well, so it doesn't take too long, thankfully. Okay. Now I can do some colour correction if I want. So there should be colour correct just there. So it's up to you if you want to. I might increase the exposure a little bit just here, you see, because at the minute it's just at 0. So I'll probably double the luminosity. So I'm going to stick that into input. That input out. And do that, and now if I just drag this down to my input slot just there and kill out my OSL colour like so. Okay, and now if I render it again, so as you can see now, by using an image I've just paused my render here because I didn't want to bother going it all the way through, but you can see you get a much more subtle edge highlight. And we can increase the radius. We could you know, put a multiplier on and really increase the radius if you wanted to as well, just to kind of get more wear in. So it's just down to how much you want, really. Okay, now I am going to just minimize this for the moment. Okay, like so. Let me see. So, I can never remember how to do this. Hide child tree. Now, what I need to do is I need to replicate this for the specular and all the other stuff to put it into this. Okay. So basically, what we need is, if I lay out my children and unhide it, there we go. What I need is one of these and one of these for every one of the slots on this that we need to use, which is diffuse everything. Okay, now obviously that's going to take a little while to do, so I'm going to pause and show you what I mean. Okay, so this is one of those points where I've cut away, done loads and loads of stuff and came back, and it looks horribly complicated, but it isn't. Okay, just to reiterate just how horribly uncomplicated this is. Over here, okay, you can see that we have our submaterial object. It only has 3 materials coming into it. One of them is the old metal, one of them's like a newer metal, and one of them's rubber. For the newer metal, it then breaks down into our mix maps, okay, or layers rather, and our layers are driven by such things as the materials that we've used hit through triplanar maps, which are these ones here. We've done the same a bit lower down for the rubber, just using a rubber material that I'd already made in Quixel. And we've done the same again with just a different metal, which comes down here. Okay, and I'm going to show you how that looks now. If I just pull this out a little bit, and I'm going to hit render. Right, so hopefully you see my point now that I've unpaused. Arnold's mad powerful. Yeah, we've got all these beautiful edge highlights and everything, and this is material driven, this isn't procedural, so we can apply all sorts of stuff to it. Now, that was just kind of an overview of how we're going to use the tools, or how the tools are used. I'm going to dig into Arnold a little bit deeply with my big spoon, and I'm going to show you how to do some stuff. Not mad complicated stuff at first, but we'll build up to it, okay, because there's a lot of fun things we can do in Arnold. And another good thing is, of course, that when we make complex materials like this, we can bake them off. And don't think for a second that, you know, we can't have cool decals and all sorts of detail on this, because we can do that through Arnold as well, and it is really easy once you know how. Anyway, see you in a bit. Hope you enjoyed it. Ta-ta.